Hey guys, got another chess game that we're going to look at. You can see 1200 elo. This was a 3-minute blitz game on chess.com, so let's jump into it. So my opponent plays the move pawn to e3, so I go ahead and strike in the center with the move d5. My opponent then strikes back with the move pawn to d4, and I develop my knight into the center. My opponent develops their knight, and I go ahead and get the bishop out, pinning the knight to the queen. They go ahead and develop their other knight, and this is when I decide to go ahead and strike in the center, because if they take, I can then take back with the knight, and they are not able to capture back because that would hang their queen. So I've got 2 pressure points on this knight, and if they played something passive, like let's say bishop here, then they would simply be losing this knight because I could just take, and once they take back, now I've got them to have doubled pawns, and it's not a great position for them. So my opponent instead decides to break the pin, and this is when I decide to capture this knight, because once they capture back, I take off the light squared bishop, and they take back with the knight, and we've reached this position. So now I develop my bishop and pin the knight to the king. They go ahead and castle. I develop my knight and prepare my king to castle while also protecting this pawn. And they offer a trade of knights. Now I go ahead and drop my bishop back, and this is where they go ahead and trade the knights. So obviously I'm going to take back. They push their b pawn, looking to fianchetto this bishop, and then I go ahead and castle. So they do fianchetto the bishop, and this is where I push my c pawn, because I have these doubled c pawns. This is a weakness for me. They go ahead and open up the squares around their king, so that way it's harder for me to attack. Since the light squared bishops are gone, it's okay to do this. The only things that can fight on the light squares are my knights and my queen. This dark squared bishop can't fight on the light squares, so that's not really a weakness for them here. If I were to do the same over here, then I'm weakening the dark squares, and they still have a dark squared bishop, so I can't do the same. But here I miscalculate a little bit, so they can take this pawn, which is what they did, and if I take back, they should just take back with the queen, and now they're up a pawn, and I've given myself a little bit of a losing position here. So in the game, these 2 moves happened, but then my opponent, I'm not sure what they saw. I think that they saw that their knight was under attack. They just played the move queen to d2, and I'm not entirely sure how that happened. So I just went ahead and took the knight, but the engine wants me to play bishop to b4, pinning the knight, and then double up the rooks, and then I would probably take the knight, and then from there it would be some type of trade like this. They would take back, and then I'd take back, and we'd reach this position where I'm just up a piece. So that's what the engine wanted to do, but I just said, I'll take the free knight, which is obviously still an okay move. I didn't see that pin where I would win an extra piece, or I'm already up an extra piece because of that. So they take back with the queen, and now I go ahead and get my rook on this file, looking to attack the queen with my bishop and chase it away. And my opponent decides to play a move where they pin my bishop to my queen, to where if I do this, they can take this, and once I take their queen, they can go ahead and take my rook. I take the king, and then they take the bishop, and now it's a rook and knight versus a rook and bishop, and I am down a pawn. So luckily, I spotted that, and I got my queen out of the way, and I got it onto the light squares, so now it can fight on the light squares, which my opponent has weakened. And they make a move here that's a bit of an inaccuracy, because if you notice, their rook is on the same diagonal, dark square, as their queen, so I'm able to play the move bishop to e5, pinning their rook to their queen. And they can no longer move this rook, because let's say they play any move like, let's just say a move that doesn't hang the rook here. Well, now I just get to take their queen for free. So my opponent decided to double up the rooks, and this is where I played the move pawn to c5. I did notice that I could take this because my opponent cannot take back, because then I would just take back with the queen, and I have a lot of pressure here. So my opponent moved the queen over here, and I used the pawn to take the rook. So now I'm up another piece. My opponent then captures with the bishop, and I capture back, because now I'm up 2 pieces. You'll see I have an extra rook. They took the bishop back. Sorry. You'll see I have an extra rook and an extra knight, so I'm in a really strong position here. And I go ahead and get my queen over on this light square to cut the king off, with ideas of putting my idea here is once I move my queen here, if my opponent plays a little passively, like trying to double up, I would want to put my rook here and threaten to checkmate. So they would have to drop back. Let's say they played something like this, offering a queen trade. Well, that would allow me to checkmate because the king would be cut off by my queen. So that was my idea here. But my opponent played this move, attacking my queen, and I got my queen back here, ready to go up and check the king and force it to move. And then my opponent unfortunately played the move rook to g4, and I'm able to capture back with the knight. And then my opponent unfortunately took back with the queen, and I took back with my queen. And now you'll see that my opponent resigned the game. They actually abandoned it. I was up, a queen and 2 rooks, and it was only a matter of time before this king would get hunted out and checkmated. So the position I got myself in was a losing position because I miscalculated on this pawn here, but then it's only a losing position if your opponent plays the correct move. For some reason, my opponent played this move, I guess overprotecting the knight, and I was just able to take it, and from there, I was able to execute a pretty nice win with a lot of very good moves and a lot of pretty solid play overall. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got something out of it. Great tactic in chess that I'm still working on as well as the pin. Not just pins on the king, but pinning other pieces like a bishop, like a rook to a queen. So that way it limits their mobility. So anytime you can spot these pins, they're probably pretty useful in your games. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked the video, make sure to check out some other ones. Drop your elo, make sure, or let me know how you're doing in your games, and I hope you have a great day, and make sure to subscribe for more.